Good morning from the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. So I'm hiking on the North Carolina side this time, and I am on Thomas Divide Trail, and I'm going to be taking it up to the Indian Creek Motor Trail, circling back around to Thomas Divide and heading back. And so a lot of people refer to this trail as the Lollipop Trail, because if you look at the outline on the map, it looks like a lollipop. But it's going to be a good trail. Weather is fantastic today, and so it started out a little bit chilly. It's about 39, 40 degrees at 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever time it is. And so it's a little bit chilly, but it's supposed to warm up to about 60, 65 today. And so about 14 miles or so, nothing too long, 13 and a half, 14 miles or so. All right, part of this trail, there are a couple side trails that I'm going to take. This is Stone Pile Gap Trail, and it's just real short out and back. I'm going to take it. Usually pretty simple. I think it's a little bit downhill and coming back up. But Stone Pile Gap, I know you can't really read it on that sign, but all right, let's get on it. All right, so Stone Pile Gap is giving me a little bit of PTSD because I just got done doing Cold Spring Gap not a couple weeks ago, and this is very similar except for not nearly as bad. Thankfully this is just a really short out and back little trail, but yeah, just kind of took me by surprise. I didn't expect to be walking through a creek on this little trail, but it's beautiful woods out here. Very peaceful. Couldn't ask for better weather. I'll show you some more of this trail. Just finished up Stone Pile Gap Trail, and that is a connector trail to Indian Creek from Thomas Divide. And so, surprising amount of elevation change. Didn't really expect it, but it wasn't anything that was too difficult. Hardest part was when it turned from a trail to a creek, and you had to walk down the creek for tenth of a mile. But anyway, it's a good trail. I'm glad I did it. So I'm doing Thomas Divide counterclockwise, and you can do that out and back at the end of the trail, at the end of your hike, or you can do it at the beginning. I'm glad I did it at the beginning because I think after 10 or 12 miles, I wouldn't necessarily want to hike that 1 mile out and 1 mile back. Just would bore you out. But anyway, let's get on with the trail. It's been a good trail. It's starting to warm up a little bit, get a little bit windy out here, so I'm going to get on the trail and get moving. We'll see you down a little bit further down the trail. I've gone about 2.1 miles from Stone Pile Gap Trail, and now I'm at the divide where if you go up this way, it's Thomas Divide Trail, and if you go back behind me, it's Indian Creek Motor Trail. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Thomas Divide Trail up and then to where it intersects with this trail, Indian Creek, and we'll take Indian Creek back down to this point. Then it's all downhill from here. I've reached Thomas Ridge, which is the highest point along the trail, and I do have some downhill, then some uphill again, and then more downhill back to the parking lot. So I think I'm probably about 6.5 miles in, and again that includes 2 miles of that little out and back on rock pile, stone pile, whatever pile, gap trail. And so, trail's been pretty well maintained. We did have a couple of blowdowns that you had to just kind of crawl through. They were huge, so you couldn't really go around them. But other than that, everything else has been pretty good. It's been really windy. I stopped and had lunch just a second ago. And just sitting on top of this ridge, the wind was just crazy. And so I actually put my fleece on because it got so cold just with the wind, even though it's probably in the 50s. The wind up from this ridge makes it feel a lot colder. But the trail's been good if I don't fall off the mountain. And like I say, I hadn't filmed a whole lot just because not a whole lot to look at. A couple of different views and stuff like that, but nothing that's been spectacular. I'll show you what I'm looking at right now, and I'll get on down the trail. We'll see ya. So I'm on deep low gap trail now, going downhill, and started running into several of these little creeks. I believe this is George Creek, if I'm not mistaken, and it is rock hoppable. Just be careful, the rocks are slippery. I found that out and ended up with wet feet, but that's okay. So far so good though. All right, here is campsite 51. Not sure how far up in there it is. I'll just take a quick peek. You can see the bear cables over there. Oh, it's just right here. So, fairly sloped ground, so, and it can be okay for hammocks, but tents, I don't know. I think you'd have a hard time finding a good flat spot for a tent. All right, I haven't filmed very much on Indian Creek Motor Trail. Not a whole lot to film there. It's just uphill. Everything from deep low gap all the way to, I'm probably half a mile, I guess, from where I connect back up to Thomas Divide. And it just really hasn't been a whole lot. It's been uphill the entire way. I think it flattens out from here, maybe a little bit of an ascent, but not too bad between here and Thomas Divide for about the last half mile. But other than that, trail's decently maintained. There are a couple of washed out places where the creek has run through it. Horses obviously use this trail because there's horse manure all looking down it. But so I was saying that the last half mile of that Indian Creek Motor Trail looked to be flattish or flattening out. That was an educated wish, and that educated wish turned out to be very wrong. It actually got steeper. But anyway, I am back here, finally back to the Thomas Divide Trail. So before lunch, I headed up that way. And now I'm headed back to the car, and it's pretty much all downhill from here to the car. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a closeout now because there's not really much to talk about on this trip back to the vehicle. But so Thomas Divide Trail coming up here to the branch of Indian Creek Motor Trail is all uphill, well maintained, but all uphill. Then the way I did it, I went counterclockwise, so I went up Thomas Divide Trail, which got even more uphill until we got to Thomas Ridge, and that was the peak. Ate lunch up there, or right before there at least, and kept going, got on Low Gap Trail, and started the downhill. And that a lot of water crossings, but they weren't that bad. They're just really long, and this time of year, at least whenever I went, you couldn't really rock hop them, so I ended up getting my feet wet on them, which is fine. Then hopped on Indian Creek Motor Trail. Not sure why they call it a motor trail, because I didn't see any motors on it. Didn't see any Indians on it either. I did see a couple of creeks though, so 2 for 3, or 1 for 3. But anyway, Indian Creek, just all uphill, just relentless. Not a lot to see. And not a boring trail, but just not a lot to see. Very peaceful though. It's just all uphill. And then I'm back here on Thomas Divide Trail, headed back to the car. If you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna put some links up here. I'm gonna put a link over here and a link over here for some of my other videos. If you wouldn't mind going out and giving them a watch, a like, subscribe if you don't mind. It means a lot to me. Leave some comments too. Like I say, this probably wasn't one of the most exciting videos, but it was my day. I was just out here by myself, leisurely hiking. Great day. If you can get out and do some hiking, definitely do. Take advantage of what God's given us here. You have the opportunity and the ability. So I'll see you on the next one. God bless.